What's going on YouTube? We've got some big news. JT Daniels is now eligible to play for the University of Georgia, competing with Jamie Newman coming from Wake Forest. We're going to talk about who has the edge and who will start week 1 versus probably Alabama. Don't know yet. Let's move the chains right after the intro. Alright guys, so breaking news, JT Daniels is now eligible. He got that waiver of eligibility, meaning that he can play right away for the Georgia Bulldogs. Jamie Newman also got that eligibility waiver, so that means we're going to have a great quarterback competition between two pretty solid quarterbacks. Now, a lot of people are high on Jamie Newman. I'm not as high on him. I've watched his tape. I've seen some of his statistics. I'm not saying he can't make strides to get better, but I think a lot of people are more high on him than JT Daniels. And I'm going to kind of maybe sway your opinion. I'm just going to throw some facts out there, and we're going to look at this quarterback competition going into the football season. So JT Daniels has an interesting story. He missed the majority of 2019 due to injuries occurred in the first game of the season versus Fresno State. Kedon Slovis took the keys to that offense and ran away with it with USC. Now this guy is a 5-star Mater Dei high school guy. Started over Bryce Young, who's the 5-star quarterback at Alabama. Many Alabama fans are considering Bryce Young to be the next best Alabama player and possibly Heisman. In 2018, he was able to play 11 games, had 14 touchdowns, but 10 interceptions. So he didn't really have that great of a season with USC, and USC decided to move on to an air raid offense with a new offense coordinator from Texas Tech, Graham Harrell. We'll get to that in a minute and why that's important. After he lost the job to Kedon Slovis, who a 3-star guy is just taking that offense by storm, that air raid, exciting USC Trojans offense, he did decide to transfer, and he transferred to Georgia. Now, we didn't know whether or not he would get that eligibility. It turns out he did because of his medical issues, because of his injuries. So now he's going to be competing with Jamie Newman. Now, to me, Jamie Newman's a tad bit overrated. Okay? Now don't blow up on me yet, because I'm gonna try and prove to you why I think he's getting a little bit more hype. I think that this is a perfect case of the media hyping up a player before he steps onto a new campus. It's not as much Jamie Newman, it's more Georgia. It's more this big Georgia program. I mean, Jamie Newman really is kind of an average quarterback. So let's look at his film and look at some statistics. Now listen to this. First Power 5 teams last year with winning records. Jamie Newman completed 48.68% of his passes with 9 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. He was also sacked 22 times last year. He held the ball a little too long, but you also have to take this into account. He was playing practically in front of no offensive lineman. That Wake Forest offensive line was terrible. It was atrocious. I really do feel bad for Jamie Newman and what he had to go through. So as you can see, against the better teams in the ACC, he really struggled. His only really good games were against really bad teams. So he didn't get to see that consistency. One thing that he does really well though is his rushing ability. As you see here on the film, he can tear up some defenses with his legs, and he's also a smart runner. He's not going to take contact a lot. He's going to slide. He's going to get down or get out of bounds. He will fight for extra yards on multiple occasions, but he understands that, you don't need one more yard. It's not worth risking an injury. Now, he's not the thrower that JT Daniels is, and that's important. As I said, he is a huge running threat. He's very athletic, and he had to use that athleticism last year to keep Wake Forest in games, beat other teams, because he was sacked 22 times. He had no time to throw, not really much for run game. They ran a lot of RPOs with Wake Forest, but they did have excellent wide receivers. That's one thing I'm going to touch up on. He has great touch on the ball. While he isn't the most accurate thrower, he does have good touch on his deep balls, and we saw a lot of that with Wake Forest's offense last year. Now that he's going to be throwing to George Pickens, I mean, that's a huge upgrade. I'm going to make a video that's more in-depth, breaking down kind of who Jamie Newman is with more film and more examples, but for now, that's kind of the basics of Jamie Newman and what you need to know. He's a pretty average thrower, but he's a great runner. Now, just assessing these two quarterbacks is really lazy. We have to look at Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator coming from the Cleveland Browns, his background, what he's going to do, because he's going to be the guy who has a lot of influence on who that starting guy is going to be for the Georgia Bulldogs. So who is Todd Monken? Where does he come from? What are his offensive philosophies? He is an aggressive guy. He loves throwing downfield on early downs, and he often refers to his offense with the moniker throw to win. He is a guy that loves the quarterback who can throw it deep downfield. He loves to spread out his offense, and he did a lot of that in the NFL. You saw with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jacksonville Jaguars, latest with the Browns. In college, he actually coached with Oklahoma State. So now you're getting to what I referred to earlier. Oklahoma State runs a lot of air raid concepts. Now, I'm not saying Georgia's going to go full air raid like a Big 12 team or team like USC, which JT Daniels came from, but you also have to look at the circumstances of this season. The circumstances are these guys don't really get much of a spring. They don't get as many practices. They don't get as much time with the film room. They don't get as much time with their teams. They're not going to be able to look at this playbook as much and sink it all in. Todd Monken having that air raid background, JT Daniels might actually have an upside on this playbook because he already knows it, whereas Jamie Newman might have to learn a whole entire new offense with little time because of COVID-19. That could be a huge, huge factor, which no one's really talking about, and I think that it's very important. It's also important to say that Monken has mentioned RPOs. That's something that JT Daniels probably wouldn't be as comfortable with, and Jamie Newman, on the other hand, would be because of his athleticism. But again, he emphasizes throwing to win more. Who is the quarterback that gives you a better chance if you throw to win? Well, that's probably JT Daniels. I'd love to know what you think down below, and if I had to choose a quarterback to go, if I had to put my life on what the starting quarterback would be for Georgia, I think I would say JT Daniels, but it's very, very slim. I mean, these two are very close because it's not like Jamie Newman can't throw the ball down the field. He just struggles with his accuracy. He has a kind of weird style of throwing the ball, almost looks like a shot put, and sometimes he can be very inconsistent. But with that being said, he's also an extremely talented athlete and runner. He's also an incredible leader from what we have heard about him with Wake Forest. But when you look at Todd Monken's philosophy and you look at his comments, when he says throw to win, I think JT Daniels. Thanks for watching the End Zone. Make sure to comment down below who you think the Georgia starting quarterback will be for this season. Let's move the chains.